Welcome, parents, to the Faculty of Law and to this orientation in particular. Firstly, let me start by congratulating you on a job well done to have your son or daughter to be admitted to the law faculty. It's not a small achievement. We received 12,000 applications this year. And from that, only about 200 students were admitted to the LLB program, and to the 4-year program. It's much less. It's we target about 55 students only. The other students we take from the other streams, the combined law degree streams that we have. So it's not easy to get admitted to this faculty. This year, we actually stopped admitting students at a point above the minimum. So we didn't take students at the very minimum, but above the minimum requirements. It was quite competitive. So I need to emphasize that your student is unique, your son or daughter is unique, very intelligent. What we expect is that they continue working hard to study law. This will be much more demanding than perhaps what they did in the matric program. It will require more commitment. It will require more hard work and focus in order for them to succeed in this program. But based on the ability alone, they have the ability to succeed in the law program. Now, especially those students who are joining the 4-year program, parents, you must know that they're very young. And the transition to the LLB can be huge. More particularly now that we are in the remote mode and students will not have the same experience of being around, being shown all the facilities, meeting the lecturers in person and interacting with them on a daily basis. They will not have that advantage. Last year we faced this challenge and we've learned a lot from last year, but last year the little advantage we had with the first year group was that they were here for the first 2 months and then we went remote, which was a little bit better than this year because this year we won't have the chance, I will not have a chance to meet them in person. I've met them already. And we will do our studies remote. So it will be challenging, but we have experience now, and we hope that the students themselves will have learned from the experience in high school about how to go studying in this mode. Now, the main change that students will experience here is that they are free, and most of them will be on campus or will be in private accommodation here, and they will be free from parents as well, which is good for them, but it can also be very challenging in the sense that the responsibility shifts squarely on them to know when to attend classes, when to complete the assignments, when to rest, when to buy food and look after themselves. All those responsibilities will now fall squarely on them. We don't ring a bell when a new class starts. We don't do that. We don't say now you have to do an assignment. These are decisions that they have to make on a daily basis. And so, especially for the 4-year LLB students, they will have to grow up very quickly because some of the courses they will be taking, there will be much more mature students who have completed a degree. And so the ability to adjust and grasp with the material might differ, but we have done this for many years. Students do catch up and get used to the study of law, but it requires immediate, focus. They will not have time to spend 2 weeks just enjoying Cape Town. They'll have to start on Monday. When we start, they have to be busy, start preparing, reading, revising, attending to assignments immediately. So you have to encourage them to take that responsibility themselves, that they cannot relax, that they have to start taking their studies immediately. So what we plan to do this year is the same as we did last year. The faculty has opted for remote teaching, at least for the first semester. In the second semester, depending on how the vaccination situation and the numbers look like, we might have in person. But as for now, it is remote teaching. We expect that all first year students will be in Cape Town, and it's some in residence, some in private residence, as the case may be. We expect that the faculty will be open for study. The library will be open. We'll have study spaces so students can come in and go, if only to help with access to data and all that, because we have full data here paid for by the university. We expect the big classes, the big courses, which have many students being conducted remotely, but we had hoped that we would have small group classes in person for the first semester. That too will not materialize, but hopefully in the second semester it will. We have some experience in doing remote teaching now. For the continuing students, they also have experience. For first year students, it might be challenging, and we have many support mechanisms in place to ensure that students don't fall behind. But those support mechanisms have to be used. We do have many teaching assistants. In the last 5 or so years, we've expanded in terms of the teaching assistants positions from somewhere around 8 to 9 to 17, 18. This year we'll have 20 teaching assistants, and these help us to support students in their studies, in their revision as well. Some students use the research assistants, others don't. It's best that they do so. We also have an early warning system, which kicks in normally after the first tests and the assignments, and June examinations and assignments as well. So we get a sense of who is struggling and what kind of help we can provide. That too is available. Some students take advantage of it, others don't. Lectures always have consultation times, and that too helps to get students to catch up on things that they're not understanding very well. Consultation times are normally published by the lecturers. When I used to teach, I also published my consultation times. I received very few requests for consultations, just because some students are shy. They don't want to get one-on-one with the lecturer. Others take full advantage of that. And interestingly, when you have a class of 150 students, there are some students because they came to your office constantly seeking help. Others, you never come to meet them because they don't come. So all these support mechanisms are there to help students. Of course, the faculty has some scholarships. This year, we have almost up to 2 million Rand scholarships, postgraduate students and undergraduate students have access to those scholarships, but it's by application. And this year, the continuing students had the chance to apply. The incoming students, probably because the results came in late and the admissions came late, missed that deadline. But some did still put in the application. So those would be included in the decisions about the scholarships that are made. But they're competitive, so we do not have too many. As you know about the NSFAS situation at the moment, the students we get from humanities and other faculties who come on a 3-year program, those ones will not be eligible for NSFAS funding. And so the faculty in the coming years will increase its efforts to raise funding to cover students who come to that program. Generally, we rely on the NSFAS funding for students from backgrounds that are underprivileged, and we for the 4-year program normally they are eligible, but for the 3-year program that is becoming a problem for now. All right, so one thing I wanted to speak to you about upfront is that your children, your daughters, your sons are now adults. I think almost all of them are 18 and above, which means that the contract, when they register, the contract, they enter into contract with the university themselves individually. It takes a while for parents to understand that difference, because in primary school, in high school, the contract was with the parents on behalf of the pupils. In this case, they are now adults, which means they're entitled to communicate with us directly. But parents always forget this. So in some cases, and increasingly during exam time, when they receive results, parents begin writing directly to me or to deputy deans or faculty office. I encourage you to get your daughter or son to write themselves, and that is also not just because by law they are considered adults and are the ones who have the right to get in touch with us or communicate or raise issues. Also, we're a faculty of law. We are expecting them to learn how to represent themselves, how to represent other people as well, how to advocate for the rights that they have, but also for the rights of others. So this is part of the process of learning that they get through. So it's surprising sometimes when a student is in fourth year, we expect them to be a lawyer. Actually, they've written the final exams, and still some parents feel the need to write on their behalf. And that's disappointing to me as a dean, because I expect that by that time they're a lawyer. They can argue before a court of law. So we are contracting with the student, and the students have to raise issues with us directly as they go along. You can assist them in formulating their argument or whatnot, but please try as much as possible to get them to interact with us. Normally, we have activities within the faculty. Some students get involved in many activities within the faculty, including as student leaders, in orientation, supporting fellow students. There are student-led organizations that engage in work uplifting the communities, trying to teach high school students their rights, and all that. There are so many student activities out there. Some help us with external examinations. They help us with many other things, events that we organize. Now, it is good that students do all of those kinds of things. It is encouraged that they do more than just go to class and study. Of course, there has to be a balance between student activities and these extracurricular things, and also paying attention to the studies that they have. Some pay too much attention to extra stuff, losing attention to what they're supposed to do. So it is important that they know how to balance their time, so that they achieve both academically but also extracurricular. Some of the questions I will address specifically, but now maybe let me brief you on what the LLB program will be like. The 4-year program, what they do in the first year is that they have some law courses which are foundational in nature. So there are 3 courses: Foundations of South African Law, South African Private Law, Systems and Context, the Law of Persons, and Family. Those are the 3 main courses, law courses that they do in the first year, preliminary year. And then they have to do those that didn't do so well in mathematics, something that we call law that counts, because we believe lawyers must count. Most often cases involve money, and they will charge for their services. They will have law firms, and they need to understand the figures. But also some cases are technical and will involve numbers. So in addition to the law that counts, they have to do 2 semester courses in another faculty, whether it is in the humanities, normally most times, or in commerce. So they do 2 semester courses in another faculty. That is because we believe that law is not just about laws. You also have to understand society in a broader context, and the courses that are offered in other faculties, such as humanities, offer broad-based education, a broad foundation within which to locate the law. Then they move into the second year. So they also do, language courses, either so language course, that would be the two language kind of courses. So there's a language course that is not your first language. You can do Xhosa, you can do Swahili, you can do Latin, and any other language that you can do in the Faculty of Humanities. There's also a course called Word Power, or some course in English, just as foundation for their studies. So basically, that's what that they would do in the first year for the 4-year program. I don't know whether some of the parents here, their children are going into the 3-year program. I will address that if there are any questions on that. Okay, let me see. So I think with that introduction, let me congratulate you once again for having managed to raise a responsible child who has made it to the study of laws. It's an enjoyable subject. It's difficult. It requires a lot of hard work. We have large books here to be read. There's a lot to be read. There's a lot to be analyzed, to be critiqued. and there will be a lot of stress. We do have issues about stress and mental well-being for within the university, but in the law faculty in particular. But we do have some support in terms of mental wellness support. We have some psychologists and therapists within the faculty, paid for by the faculty, and students have access to this. Some students don't, again, I repeat this, don't take advantage of this because we come from different backgrounds. In some backgrounds, it's much more difficult to acknowledge the mental well-being, mental wellness as an issue. So it's important that if they face these issues, they should be encouraged to seek help. We do have issues of substance abuse as well. We do also have issues of cheating in examinations or assessments. The issue of cheating is a serious one, especially in the context that we are in, where we have to administer remote exams. We will try this year to administer in-person examinations, but if this is not possible, we'll still do remote examinations. But we did have some issues with cases of collusion and cheating. So with these remarks, I will be happy to answer questions. I do have with me several people, including Dr. Helena Stoop, who is the orientation, the chair of the orientation committee with me. She'll help me with the answering of the questions. There are some questions I'll be able to answer. There are some questions I may not be able to answer. I see there's one question already, which is which says, does the university provide any sponsorship for high performers who are not underprivileged? Paying tuition and accommodation for middle-class families is also difficult. I think there is a university-wide scholarship of that sort, but very few students get it. So it's not many who get that, because over the years, the pressure for equality, pressure for at least UCT in our case, accommodating students from all backgrounds has led us to pay more attention to students who are struggling. So there are very few scholarships for high performers. We do have specific scholarships from foundations and other donors, which emphasize both performance and also underprivilege. We do also grant those kinds of scholarships to students. Some just focus on performance, others both underprivileged and performance. The other question is also related to, it was asked earlier, I think in an area forum. It says that my daughter passed with 7 distinctions. We have learned that she came first in the province. She has chosen law and was offered 40,000 Rand bursary for BA and has applied for NSFAS as well. Why can't UCT offer this bursary for law? Okay, so the one of the reasons for this is that the university try to encourage certain disciplines which are not as supported as possible. The law is not one of them, unfortunately. So that's why we don't have the automatic kind of fund scholarships like this. We do have scholarships where one has to apply. The other question is if application for funding to NSFAS is not approved, what happens next to a registered student can UCT bursary assist in such a case? As I said, we do have funding and bursaries, but they're on a competitive basis. So it's not a large fund. We are always expanding our funding base so that we support more and more students. So it's not automatic that if it fails, NSFAS fails, there will be a scholarship within the faculty. We do have only a limited number of scholarships on a competitive basis, and those that succeed will get it, will get those bursaries. So about withdrawal from a course or courses, there is normally a date at which withdrawal from a course can happen and be funded, and one is refunded. But if a certain date is exceeded, then there will be no refund. If we are unable to get accommodation and are still not in Cape Town, what is the process for my child to get their student card? I guess if a student is registered and they're not on campus and will not be in Cape Town, there's no need for a student card, I suppose. All you need is a student number, because you can have access to student resources with a student number.
Danwood?
Yes.
I can maybe interrupt. I will post the email address because although students don't require it, as you rightly point out, if they do in fact want a student card, they are able to request one. The only prerequisite being that once this is prepared for them, they would have to collect it themselves on campus.
Thanks for that, Elena. The question in year 2 is taking a foreign language compulsory or optional?
Yes, it is compulsory for year 2 to take a foreign language. Well, foreign in the sense that it cannot be your home language. And if you had it before, so say you had French matric, you couldn't then do French 1. You would have to do a more advanced level French. It is possible under certain circumstances for students to take English, but that cannot be first year English. So that would mean that the student would have to have some English modules this year, at least 2, and have successfully completed them. And then you can take English at second year level, if I'm correct. But that is the only exception that comes to mind. So yes, it must be a language that the student's not familiar with.
Thanks for that, Helena. Okay, yeah, so I think Tembi has asked a question that I have answered about whether the university sponsors high performance. The other question is about electives. My daughter registered for high electives and was later advised against these courses. When is she able to change her electives and how does she do this? So this question requires more context to know which program it is, whether these electives are in law or not. Normally the electives, the way we understand it's a technical term for courses that are not core to the program, and they are taken when a student is in the intermediate or final year, so much later than at the beginning. Perhaps these are the courses in other faculties that we are talking about, and they are student advisors who would advise students to on which courses to take. Because there are issues of timetabling and timetable clashes as well, and considerations as to whether you want to continue with that course in the intermediate year or the second year, and whether there is a prerequisite so that you need to do in first year before you take the second year course. So all those considerations, a student needs to see a student advisor. We advertise these names to the students. So it would require much more fleshing out in order to get a more specific answer. But there's also an additional reply here from my colleague Helena, which about the question that I was answering about electives. In order to change, if the one has been registered already and they have taken their course options, and they want to change, you can do it within, I think, 2 weeks for free. You can change. There's a form that students fill in, and that can happen. That should happen within 2 weeks from registration without incurring any costs. But they have to see a student advisor to advise them. Now, the student advisors are lecturers in the faculty who offer this kind of advice. The laptop offer, about the question is, if the offer was not taken up at the time of registration due to NSFAS funding, can a student still opt to take up this offer after confirmation of funding? Now, this is outside my jurisdiction, so I don't know whether I can answer this question. I don't actually also know. The laptop offer the laptop project is administered from the university office, so it's a centralized system, not by faculty.
David, I can maybe add to that. The last communication that we did receive, the orientation team, was that they cannot opt in at this stage any longer, but the information is changing and it is updated regularly. So if that is not the case, we will communicate that, and I think the best way to communicate that will be through the orientation websites and emails directly to students. But to my knowledge now, it is no longer possible to opt in.
Thanks for that, Helena. The other question: will assistance be offered to students for elective subject selection? Yes. So the student advisors provided assistance. We also have a long list of some of the popular courses that students take in the humanities, especially in commerce. They are normally mathematics minimum requirements, and it's normally the stipulated courses. We don't have a wide range there, but it's in the humanities where most students take these courses. So, of course, the law lecturers do not have expertise in those courses, but just experience from previous student experience that take those courses to say one or two things about them. But students themselves have to go through the descriptions of those courses and really choose courses that they think they like to study, and not just for other reasons other than firstly, most importantly, whether they really like that subject, and the next considerations must be, okay, timetable issues, but also whether that course has another course they could pick up at a second year level. Something like that. So, but the student advisors are there to support students in making those selections. Muhammad, I think I answered the question about withdrawal. That the registration period for now is intended to last up to maybe 18th of March. There will be a little bit of extension, normally 2 weeks. And hopefully the deadline for like withdrawal from courses is, I think, a little bit longer. So I can't commit to the specific dates because that's within the registrar's mandate. and then a student can withdraw after that. The way it seems, if a student is in a situation that you are describing, is most likely NSFAS will fund, because we've been told that they will fund students coming into the 4-year LLB stream, and also students coming in for 2 years after the combined degree program. They will not fund students coming via the 3-year program after a first degree. So we are less worried about students in the 4-year LLB stream in terms of funding. I hope that pans out well. Helena?
Yes, I scoured them now. I'm not seeing anything that we've not responded to. I can maybe just at this point while I'm speaking remind everybody that the session is recorded. I will post a link to where it can be found in the next couple of days in a moment.
All right. So maybe because there are no more questions, I wish to thank you again and for attending this orientation. Please support our students. We sometimes the trust between parents and staff and the faculty can be eroded depending on how the students are performing. The trust between students and staff also can be fraught as we go along. But we have the same goal, which is to train our students to achieve and to succeed, to be the best lawyers that they may be, and to serve the community with the best that they can offer. So we never get away from that goal, although it might seem that's the case as we go along, because we have to test these students, we have to challenge them, and we have to make them do more. And once they finish, we hope we create a product that we can be proud of, a student we can be proud of to be called a UCT graduate. And our graduates, we believe, and there are facts to prove it, are marketable. They're in high demand, both in South Africa but also internationally. They are relied upon. They're reliable. So people would like, employers would like to employ our graduates who don't have distinctions than employ some graduates from other faculties who have distinctions, because they know that we our standard is higher. We make them work hard and we train them well. So please encourage them to work hard. It will be challenging. They will need support and encouragement. But as I said, there are always issues that come up. Encourage them to seek assistance and help, but also encourage them to ask questions, to probe, to make inquiries, and to participate in the faculty as much as they can. Thank you.